Hello and welcome. As one of the world's fastest growing economies, India's energy demands have been skyrocketing. The crucial questions before us: how to power our growing economy and resolve our chronic energy shortages, which could only increase going forward. In addition to all of that, we have to explore alternate and renewable sources of energy. Becoming energy efficient at the end of the day is going to be one of the key factors in continuing our growth. So NDTV Grunt Force have come together to work towards this critical mission, Mission Energy. Through this campaign, we're going to be shining a spotlight on India's energy challenges and the increasing importance of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and energy conservation. Our effort will essentially be to raise awareness about these issues that affect each one of us and also help chart out a roadmap to a more sustainable future. Well, essentially, we believe that the power lies with all of us, and each and every one of us can make a difference. And we have an extremely distinguished panel with us, and also an audience that's packed with some of the top experts on this field. Let me start off by welcoming the people who are here on the panel. Sunita Narayan, of course, Director for Center for Science and Environment, one of India's leading voices on environment and sustainable development. Great to have you with us. Kirit Parekh, Padma Bhushan awardee, the man who's in many ways considered as the architect of India's integrated energy policy. Mr. Rangnath, who's the MD of our partners Grunt Force in this, deeply committed to improving India's energy efficiency. Dr. Prem Jain is the chairman of the Indian Green Building Council, CII, they are our knowledge partner for this campaign. And of course, buildings take up a lot of energy, and we hope we can make it a little more efficient going forward. Mr. Koshi Chirel is the president at the Alliance for an Energy Efficient Economy. Also our partners for this campaign. Is great. We're going to be hearing from you in just a short while. Also going forward, we are going to be talking to experts. Farooq Abdullah is going to be joining us, the Minister for Renewable Energy. Dr. Pachauri is going to be joining us, and many others as well as we go forward. Right. What's this all about? Let's just quickly show you the real reason why we decided we needed to get serious about Mission Energy.
Our country is reaching a critical tipping point. As the world's fourth largest energy consumer, how India powers itself affects the entire planet. Over 70% of India's power is generated by coal-based plants, and supply shortages lead to crippling power outages. India faced its worst ever power deficit in July 2012, triggering a blackout which brought half the country to a grinding halt. An early but dire warning of how bad things can get if we don't start to make ourselves more energy efficient. Our cities are growing at breakneck speeds, but this growth is chaotic, unplanned, and results in further wastage. The fastest, cheapest, and easiest way for India to start addressing its energy challenges is through energy efficiency. Unlocking the potential of solar power in regions that get more than 300 days of sunshine in a year could lead the change away from coal-based electricity. The technologies already exist. It's time for us to make the change. Our security, the future of our economic growth, and the fundamental needs of over 1 billion people hangs in the balance. It's time we got serious about energy. Let's make energy efficiency our mission.
Okay, let me start by getting some quick opening comments from the entire panel out here, and then we're going to take some detailed presentations as well. How serious is the problem? How big a crisis is it? And is there something that we can do about it instead of going on importing more and more energy?
I think, Vikram, let's be clear that from an environmental point of view, we have a major crisis with energy. We have an issue with the sources of energy being also very polluting. My fear is that we are looking at the energy crisis from the wrong end. We're looking at it just to fix and make it more efficient. We're not forcing ourselves to think about some big ticket solutions which will take us to a leapfrog solution where large numbers of poor people without access to energy could also get clean sources of energy. So essentially think differently, think big.
Think differently, think big, and come up with big ticket items.
Absolutely.
Dr. Parekh?
Yeah, I think certainly we have a huge energy problem at the moment. We have to recognize that we are short of all kinds of fossil fuels in the country. We are importing most of them. I think in the long run, there is no other choice we have but to go for renewable energy. And here solar and wind are the two most important sources that we have. But in order to use this effectively, we have to recognize that today they cost much more. And if we are going to push solar and wind in a substantial amount, it would have an adverse impact on economic growth. So what we need to do is to put lots of effort in research, in bringing down the cost of this, and also in thinking about energy efficiency is one thing, but also lifestyle changes in some sense, have different city structures, let people move by bicycle. I will not say that anymore, but bicycles and walk, and have a lot of public transport. With something like 300 more million people going to come into our urban areas in the next 20, 30 years, and going from here to there, that is with the legacy of the existing cities, absorbing these people and having a sustainable transport system is a huge challenge. So I see two challenges: how to have city structures such that public transport becomes possible, and second, how to make renewable energy cheaper and more accessible.
Okay, Mr. Ranganath.
It is said that the per capita consumption of energy is directly proportional to the development of a country, which you can't deny. Having said that, we are perhaps the fastest urbanizing country in the world. So demand will go up further from where it is today. So the approach has to be completely holistic, without which we won't get too far. There are some studies which say today we are 70% dependent on coal, and in 2035 we will be 66% dependent on coal. So we'll never get rid of coal. The world requires perhaps 41% more energy over the next 20 or 30 years, of half of which will come out of China and India. The US will perhaps be fully self-sufficient. China will be a large importer. In India's case, it is said that we would be increasing our energy production by 112%, but our consumption will go up by 135%, which means we are where we are today if we don't do something very drastically. And that is something that we need to keep a focus on. And I do agree, we need to think out of the box, but completely holistically.
Absolutely.
All sources of energy should be looked at, and how do we manage them. You cannot deny people energy, but they need it. And I understand 100,000 villages today have no electricity at all.
Okay. Dr. Jain, quick comments from you?
Yeah, Vikram, my take is on the buildings, because that's where my expertise is. What we foresee, today, the built mass is amount X. In the next 20, 25 years, it will become 4X, because as people move into the urban areas, as people build houses, we're going to have a huge energy challenge in terms of the houses. As you earlier saw, 30% of the world energy goes into the buildings.
Yeah.
When we go built mass to 4 times of what it is today, where will the energy come from? So what we are doing in the Indian Green Building Council is to attack from the demand side, that we want to minimize the energy consumption, and we have excellent examples across the country. We today have nearly about 250 buildings already working in the country, demonstrating and showcasing that energy consumption can be reduced by 40 to 75% without sacrificing the comfort of the occupants, by proper design of the envelope, by proper technology, by minimizing the requirement of the energy, rather than to have high-end technology, minimize first the demand, and then adopt the higher technology.
And if you take that effort right now, long-term savings are also massive.
Huge savings, yes.
Okay, I just want to go across to a very special guest I see with us in the audience, actually, Dr. Ajay Mathur, who is, of course, Director General of the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, member of the Prime Minister's Council on Climate Change as well. How serious do you think the problem is? And at the end of the day, are we taking all the right steps that we need to right now? Or do we need a lot more attention?
Vikram, a very large part of this country doesn't have access to electricity, doesn't have access to clean cooking fuels, doesn't have access to incomes, and therefore to the industry, the commercial services, the mobility that is needed to generate income. All this needs energy. So energy demand is going to increase. But at this very time, we are importing a large amount of fuel. The prices of that fuel is increasing. So one of the things we can take for granted is that the price of any energy source that we use today will go up in the future. Yet, we also see that there is a tiredness amongst all of us to pay our energy bills. Well, if energy prices are rising and we have a problem with our energy bills, the only solution is energy efficiency. It's a technical issue, it's an economic issue, it's a political issue. What can we do? What has worked? For us, enhancing the choice of energy efficient equipment has worked. Over the past 3 or 4 years, the average air conditioner that we buy is 25% more efficient. A startling change that has happened is that an LED bulb, which uses half as much electricity as a CFL, its price was 1,200 3 years ago, it's down to 290 rupees now. Will go down further. This depends on our choices. When we choose efficient equipment, we build the market, prices come down. Energy efficient products pay for themselves. Even if they cost more in the beginning, because they use less energy, you save on their costs over time.
All right, sir. Well, thanks for that perspective, and that's certainly something which I hope everyone is going to keep in mind now. I'm going to slip into a very quick break. After that, we'll continue to hear from special guests. Dr. Pachauri is going to be joining us, Farooq Abdullah is going to be joining us as well, and we will take a look at the first of our presentations. We have a series of presentations for you this evening on what specifically can be done to try and go forward in mission energy.